Good afternoon. This is Stacey Sanderson, and I am recording this today just after coming inside from a run. And it is one of those March days here in Southern Ontario where you can feel, hear, taste, and smell spring. The birds are singing, the sun is warm, the snow is melting. And as much as I adore winter, after this winter, I am ready for some signs of spring. What I wanted to drop in and talk a little bit about today is inspired by the need for people who are sensitive, gifted, highly empathic, for all of you to become empowered to be ready for what the world may bring us. I mean, we're already in it in terms of the influence of divisiveness, false media, smear campaigns. And so, for anyone who's experienced narcissistic wounding, this can be particularly difficult. I have even found myself wanting to just kind of go into hermit mode, to not be around people. That not being the answer, what I wanted to drop in and talk about is if you feel that now is your time and you're ready to heal from any history of narcissistic wounding you may have. And now let me break that down. This could be bullying as a child. This could be abuse from one or both parents. This could be abuse from a sibling. Often those two things go together. This could be a toxic work environment. This could be a toxic community environment. This could be a traumatic experience in a church community. I think sometimes my work can be misrepresented as being only for people who've had toxic spouses, and nothing could be further from the truth. So, what I wanted to outline here are the steps toward healing and self recovery and ultimately empowerment. Now, what does that mean? I think what that refers to is being able to say yes to the things you need to say yes to and no to the things you need to say no to recognize what makes you unique, and to never or almost never allow for people's words or actions to cause you harm, and to also change what might perhaps be long-standing patterns of being responsible for how other people feel. Excuse me. So I've arrived at this after years of research, my own healing experience, as well as creating systems and strategies and approaches that work for clients. And without further ado, here are what I refer to as the 5 pillars of narcissistic recovery, or the 5 steps to get your power back. You can call this whatever you want. Number 1 is self-awareness. In brackets, I would add other awareness. But as hard as this is for most of you to hear, you do need to become aware of your old attachment patterns, which in my program I call your attachment blueprint, and the reasons why you have perhaps been repeating these relationships where your needs aren't being met and perhaps you're being harmed. So I say self-awareness, that's a very broad umbrella. Okay? It's a broad umbrella that is rather all-encompassing in terms of understanding how you got here. So it lives in past, present, future, right? This makes me think of the tarot reading. But this is about your history, your current situation, and what you actually want for perhaps now and the future. Self-awareness, big umbrella. Number two, awareness of your old patterns of conditioning. This absolutely can also follow under the first one, but it needs a lot of its own attention because so many of us have experienced intermittent reinforcement. That's a psychology term for being rewarded, in this case, for when we do something someone wants and then being punished or perhaps love being withdrawn if we're not doing what that person wants or we're displeasing them. So we've got self-awareness, awareness of old conditioning patterns. Number three is all about understanding patterns of power and energy. So this is very unique, I think, for everyone to a certain extent, but this is about keeping track of where you're giving your energy away, right? So this is a little bit about what nurtures you, what empowers you, what inspires you, what lights you up, and what depletes you. What people are life-giving when you're in their presence, and what people drain you. Okay? I had the occasion, not this past weekend because today's Monday, but the weekend before, of spending time with amazing, life-giving, affirming women who are my friends. Right? So I had dinner with an old group of friends on Friday and then hosted a dinner party with dear friends and colleagues on Saturday. Fast forward to this previous weekend where I spend time in what felt like I was being punked on an episode that you could call Mean Girls, right? Just low vibrational, low consciousness, competitive, snipey, internalized misogynistic types of behavior. This is an example of the two differences in people's energy. Most of the people I work with are highly susceptible to other people's energy. So that's why I'm talking about this. Now I'm losing track. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 is all about creating boundaries that you are where you are responding to people rather than reacting. So all of the things I'm saying, one builds on the other. But boundaries are often situations that we've taken as much as we're going to take, or we're feeling really overwhelmed, and then we lay down a boundary, right? We say no, we stop talking to someone, we go silent, we try and create rules. But what I'm referring to here is boundaries that protect your time and energy, right? So we need boundaries around time, energy, money. I'm sure there's more, but those are the major ones. If you've had narcissists in your life, you need boundaries around your authenticity. You need boundaries around your own good energy, meaning you need to protect that. So that's where the boundaries come in. But these are boundaries that you create from your own value system. Okay, so that takes a little doing, understanding what's important to you, and then setting a boundary accordingly. Last but certainly not least is really stepping into who you really are. I hesitate to use the word authenticity because it is overused. So what I am going to say is this last step is about really acknowledging, honoring, celebrating, and empowering everything that's unique about you. Because most of you have had that questioned. Most of you have been on the receiving end of what I call sniping, right? Condescending comments, put downs, if you will, passive aggressive ways that people in your life may not show up and celebrate you. So, because of that, not just because of that, it is important that you do. All of the work I mentioned prior to the fifth step leads you to here, but also in a circular fashion. The more you know yourself, the clearer you are about what you want from your relationships. So this sounds very simple. Um, there are many, many additional steps that go with the five, but I just wanted to get you thinking about it, right? From this position that I'm in of being immersed in and doing this work, I know that so many people get caught up in focusing on the other person. And so you hear me saying you need to focus on yourself. And this is a much more holistic approach than to, for example, focus on your negative thinking patterns or even focusing on specific past traumatic events. Although that might be part of your recovery process, right? I think that I put complex post-traumatic stress outside of those five pillars, and it would be like a point one step if you required that. So if this resonates with you and you are curious, I'm going to include a couple of links at the end of this talk. One of them is to my course, Finding Your Way, which used to be a 5-day workshop and can still be, but I have turned it into course content. So a video with curriculum that you can follow at your own leisure, as well as the link to Transforming Pain to Power, which is my signature immersive program. And so have a look at those. And if it's of interest to you, please reach out via an email. And as always, please, if this resonates with you, like, subscribe, comment, and if you know other people who can benefit from this, please share. And it would be my privilege and honor to guide you in this journey of coming back to yourself. Have a great day or evening, and thank you for tuning in.